Hello again. This is my review of La Dolce Vita, to continue my little Fellini series that I've got going here. La Dolce Vita, literally, it's a story about a journalist, like pop culture type journalist in Rome in the 60s, um, or literally 1960. This movie was actually shot in 1959. Um, and it just follows him on these like random stories that happen to him. A lot of the reviews I've read says it takes place over 7 nights, which could be true, but there are in fact literally like 7 stories, with like a separate prologue, epilogue, and this like one random scene that ties those two together. Also, it's mostly about this reporter named Marcello, who is played by Marcello Mastroianni, who is outstanding. He's also the lead character in Eight and a Half, and is a primary character in a lot of Fellini's movies, and is usually considered to be Fellini's on-screen alter ego. And so Marcello basically just goes around to all these different social events, nightclubs, parties, um, and is incredibly bored at all times. And so are a lot of the people that he deals with. A lot of these rich people. It pretty much exclusively deals with upper class Roman society of the time and the decadence and just opulence that they live in. And all the characters are like that too, pretty much. All the characters that come from that world are always bored. They're always just apathetic, lethargic, and interspersed throughout it, there are these characters that have real human energy and are glad to be alive instead of despairing at the fact that they're alive. The movie talks about a lot of things. It talks about the alienation of the culture from the things of its past. The Roman Catholic culture that it used to be such a staple of what Italians would go to find comfort. That is long gone. He goes to this. There's this one great scene in a church, and the entire church is deserted. And there's a great sequence where these children have seen a vision of the Virgin Mary, and Marcello goes to report on it because it's a hot story, and the small town where it happened, is just swarmed with people and inundated with all these people. And it's just a sign that, even though they are bereft of this, religious history that they're used to, they're still craving some sort of, religious power or religious, still craving religion in their lives. Excuse me for 1 second here. Um, And also another thing that they've lost is their ancient culture, which is another thing that has held up Italians especially, is their connection to this ancient culture that they've built up. In another scene, he goes to this rich socialites party, and they visit this villa that's attached to the property. And it's this gigantic, huge estate that's 500 years old or whatever, but the modern generation has let it fall completely into disrepair and ruin, and it is actually literally a set of ruins. Um, he meets a couple characters. There's a character played by Anita Ekberg who is particularly fascinating to me, even though she's a part of this whole society. She's a part of this rich, decadent society. She still has this energy. She still has a real youthful energy. And it can also be shown in one scene when they go to the Vatican, and she's walking up this circular staircase, and one by one, of course, since she's a movie star, she's followed around by all these paparazzi, a term which originated from this movie, but I'll touch on that in a second. So she's being followed up the staircase by the paparazzi, and one by one, they fall and give up trying to climb with her up the stairs. And for me, this symbolizes, the fact that she is somehow in touch with, something spiritual, even though it's not maybe on a conscious level on her part. She's in touch with it when all these other people who are just, preying on human weaknesses, they don't have the strength or the energy to follow her all the way up to the top. And Marcello does, but barely. And it's really only because he wants to get a little, you know what I mean? But, yeah, so she's an interesting character in that way, and um, she is striking to me because she seems like she would still have that same fun and energy regardless of whether she was famous or not. The only reason she is famous is because she's this like beautiful icon of femininity, and because of that, she really had no choice. She's naturally going to get swept up into this decadent society. So she's an interesting character. The kids with their fake vision. Oh yeah, the kids who see the Virgin Mary, it is fake, made up by the way, but it gets blown out of control by all these people that are starving for some sort of spirituality. Um, what else? There's a lot of other stories. These all these stories. The people talk about the relationship of the seven stories. Seven deadly sins. God took 7 days to create the earth, which might be neither here nor there. Uh, but it's really a great movie. It's also this is Fellini's transition from his really neo-realist roots into his later more circus-like movies. And you can literally see it in the progression of this movie. It starts out shot, even though some of the shots are humorous, the opening sequence of this plaster Jesus, flying over the city of Rome, blessing everybody. And even in the helicopter that's carrying this plaster statue, there's a helicopter full of paparazzi following it, just like, so it really sets up everything for the movie. The fact that Marcello is actually chasing this, you know, this icon of spirituality, which is basically what he's doing for the whole movie. And yeah, uh, so it's about oh sorry, yeah, it starts out, even though there's kind of these absurd contexts of the shots, it's still shot very in a very neorealistic fashion. The camera's hidden. He's trying to make you not realize that you're watching a movie and just kind of immerse you in this world. But as the film progresses, and as he descends, in a kind of a Dante-esque way, descends into the very depths of this Roman society, the camera shots get more and more elaborate. The composition is more and more artistic and abstract. And you can see that progression over the course of the movie, how it starts out in this realistic way and kind of shifts over to this, absurd, crazy cinematography, which is, a staple of his later movies. But yeah, it's fantastic. Although on a visceral level, I'll say I didn't quite like it as much as 8.5, but that's probably just because I can identify more with a group of artists trying to create something than just a bunch of, rich socialites who are bored with life. So on a personal level, that's probably why. But I've been obsessed with La Dolce Vita for the last few days, and been reading up as much as I can on it. And I would recommend everyone out there take a view of it. La Dolce Vita, 5 punches in the face. Five punches in the face. I'll see you guys next time.